Hello and welcome into the Lone Star Varsity Pregame Show, brought to you by University Medical Center and powered by AJ Media. I'm Mike Graham.
And I'm Bryan Navarette with the Lone Star Varsity High School sports staff.
Well, Brian, it's finally week one. The build-up is done. It's just time to enjoy some good football games. Now, we've identified 5 pretty good ones. At least they have interesting storylines to talk about tonight as we get ready to hop into weekend action, which begins tomorrow with Odessa and Monterey. Let's just run through the list.
I think we start with Odessa Monterey because they're going to give us a taste of the Friday night football a day early, so I think they deserve it.
I think so too. And Monterey, really interesting team coming in. 6 returning starters on offense, but only 4 on defense. But Coach Wayne Hutchinson feels really good about the team he's got. And they might get a challenge tomorrow by Odessa, which went 0-10 last season. But they have a familiar guy leading their sideline.
Yeah, somebody who I'm familiar with, worked with him for 2 years, Danny Servants. They had a bad season before his departure from Estacado, but not a lot of people remember that the season before that, they went 9-3 and actually undefeated in district, 4-0 to win it. So he's definitely a good coach, and I think with one more year underneath his program, that Odessa is going to see an upturn.
That was the point that Coach Servants was trying to make to me when I was talking to him earlier today. Yeah, last year was really rough, but we got a second off season in. We've started to change the culture, and we're going to see if they come out with a little bit more heart and a little bit more heartbeat when they play Monterey. Monterey beat this team 43-13 last year, so some interesting storylines in that one. But what do you see from Monterey? What makes Monterey able to compete in District 4-5A?
I think just having that quarterback that has the experience coming back. I think at the 5A rank, you definitely need a player that has the experience and can kind of help you out in the offensive side. But defensively, they also have some players, in Tydrick Ranson, I believe, defensive linemen. Those 4 returners on defense, they're going to look to really early on to help lead them. But I think what's going to make them most effective in District 4-5A is the experience that they're bringing over and the fact that a lot of these kids are already familiar with the program, Monterey's schemes and everything like that. But I think there's a little bit of excitement surrounding the Plainsmen right now to see what they're going to do against Odessa. So we'll see how they kind of respond to last year.
It could be really interesting. They're starting to reflect Lubbock Coronado a lot in certain ways, especially at quarterback. They have a passing quarterback this year exclusively, Brylan Lawson-Young. He's got a big arm. I've seen him throw it 50 yards. I mean, what will having a passing-first quarterback exclusively allow this offense to do? Because you'd think it might take away from them, but maybe it adds some things too.
I think it adds a lot to them. Last year, they had a quarterback that was maybe primarily run first, so maybe kind of keeping him in the pocket and being able to extend plays downfield. You're talking about 40, 50-yard plus gains. That definitely deflates the defense. So having a big arm like that can make those plays and wide receivers that can definitely get downfield, I think they're going to be able to kind of deflate the defense, get them kind of on their heels a little bit. And then when you do that, you have a running back that can come in and just kind of pound it up the middle. So I think there could be a good contrast in between Brylan Lawson-Young and whoever steps in at running back for him.
Odessa at Monterey, 7 p.m. Thursday at Lowry Field at Plains Capital Park. Should be a really interesting one. The next game that we're going to talk about is the one that would immediately follow it. It's a 6 p.m. game between Idalou and Shallowater, and it's not just a normal game.
No, actually, this one's going to be televised live on Fox Sports Southwest, I believe. And it should be a good game. Coming into it, Shallowater is one of those teams that has their second new head coach in 2 years. So we don't know exactly how they're going to respond to last year, but they do have a capable quarterback in Cutter Sparks and athlete Brody Hendrick. When I went out there, what I saw was a very athletic team, kind of rallying to the ball. Kobe Wood, defensive back that came down with Brian Wood, he's a very athletic kid. I think he'll see some time at wide receiver and defensive back. So I think we're going to see a more athletic team from last year. As far as size goes, I didn't see much size, but there were definitely some players that stood out. Now for Idalou, I was able to go out to one of their scrimmages, so I think there's a lot of excitement for me from this Idalou team coming in. They got a good 1-2 punch with Xavier Rodriguez and Mark Caballero.
Yeah, Idalou, usually a top 10 team in 3A Division II. Now this is a 3A Division I versus a 3A Division II team. What does that really mean when you're playing a non-district schedule? What is the difference between the two levels. Is there any difference?
I don't think there's that much of a drop-off in between the two, or even a difference at all for that matter. I think this is going to be two teams who, I wouldn't say evenly matched coming in, because obviously Idalou has that experienced program under Jeff Lofton, but no, I don't think there's going to be any difference. It's going to be just, I think, a hard-nosed fought game.
And obviously there's the distraction of TV going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
but we spoke with Coach Wood on how do you combat that, or how do you work with that. And if you want to get more on that, check out our podcast.
Absolutely. The Lone Star Varsity podcast, available on lonestarvarsity.com. But really, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it. They need rosters, they're doing phone calls, they're doing midweek interviews. How do you put that behind you and play football, do you think? I never really experienced that playing high school ball.
I never had the chance to experience it, but I know anytime you step into a big stage, 2 minutes in, you're feeling it, and you can just feel the excitement and everything. And then after that, you're playing a football game. Your mind reverts back to, hey, this is a football game and I want to win it.
Now up next is Coronado at Plainview, and this one could be really interesting because it was an interesting game last year. Obviously, the two teams kind of branched apart from each other. Coronado went on their run to the third round of the Class 5A Division I playoffs. Plainview kind of fell apart in their district, finished 3-7, but it was a good game when they met each other, decided by a touchdown, and could be more of the same. Plainview is a very physical team going up against a Coronado offense that really, really established itself last year.
Yeah, Plainview, like you said, is a really tough team. I think they're one of the underrated teams coming into this year just because of that downfall that they saw last year. But Carson Hawk's a good quarterback, and I think if you had mentioned, or if you guys want to check out his preview later, he may have had some more progress last year if it wasn't for an injury. So with him returning, you know, I think Plainview has a good chance against Coronado. But Coronado is tough coming into this. They return so much offensively and defensively, and not just return so much, but they return so much talent.
Right.
You know, Quay Gray, Gerard Compton, and then you got Devin Morrison. And then on the other side, Trey Stevens, Miguel Garcia, who led the season last year.
He led the state in
sacks
with 126.
So
and Trey Stevens, a linebacker, led 5A in sheer tackles. So, yeah, really good on both sides of the ball for Coronado. But Plainview has some athletes, too. I really like Andrew Villa, the fullback,
yes,
and Keyshawn Horn on the outside, two really good offensive players. Is that enough to beat this defense? Because they attack it in different ways. You know, Villa comes from the middle, and Horn is someone that can attack from the outside. And they've got Hawk, who looks like he's one of the best quarterbacks as far as mechanics on the South Plains.
I don't know if it's enough, because like we said, coming into this one, the Coronado was one of the more exciting teams. I don't know if it's enough, but I think they put in the work in the offseason and they were able to find those key components to make up for what they graduated, then we could see a competitive game. But right now, you know, coming into it, it's going to be a tough one for the Bulldogs.
It could be a special game for Coronado head coach Seth Parr, 1997 graduate of Plainview,
yes,
gets to go home.
We actually have quite a few coaches out here that were Plainview grads, so it's very interesting to see them come back here.
Now, this one, I think, is a big one, big rivalry game. Just about the third time these two teams have met in a calendar year. It's Post at Abernathy, which is a rematch of a playoff game that Abernathy was able to win by a field goal in the final seconds. And obviously, Abernathy went on to win Region 1 in 2A Division 1.
Post, in their first appearance, shut them out. 21-0, I believe. But I think it was a time where Abernathy was still trying to find itself offensively. And then you see Bryson Daly kind of step up as a freshman and lead this team to an impressive run. But let's not dismiss Post immediately, because Post is traditionally defensively really good team, and they returned 3 really good linebackers, Brandon Britton, Mike Ferguson, and the other one escapes me right now, but they returned 3 very talented linebackers. 2 of them went for over 100 tackles last year, and Ferguson was near there with 80.
Right, and Ferguson, a heck of a running back too. Last year as a fullback, eclipsed 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
He's been given the tailbacking duties. And I think there's opportunities here for Post to control the pace, which is nice because obviously on the opposing end, Bryson Daly, sophomore sensation now, I guess, after accomplishing a Region 1 championship as a freshman quarterback / linebacker.
Yeah.
Maybe Post can slow down this game.
Well, and I think that's on both ends of the spectrum for both these teams. I think they both like to slow down the game and make you play to their level or to their speed, so to speak. And I think they're similar in some ways in that they like to run the ball. You know, Coach Daly was saying if we can get the passing aspect down, they're going to be more lethal. But early on, I'm looking at two run-heavy teams coming at each other. I think it's going to boil down to Abernathy's offense versus Post's defense, because Post is going to do what they've done in the past, run the ball and control the clock.
Might be the best game available for uncommitted fans out there on Friday night.
I would definitely recommend getting out to that one. Abernathy's not too far down the road.
Now, finally, is Amarillo at Lubbock Cooper, and this one could be really interesting.
Yeah, Amarillo, obviously another run-based team, I believe, coming into Cooper, who they had somebody new under center this year. You got a chance to go out and see them.
I did, yeah. It looks like it's going to be either Brandon Mell or Carter Cole. They're still rotating between them. I thought that Mell had the stronger game with the ones, but Carter is not far behind and obviously can fall back to receiver. So I think they're in good position no matter what they do. Struggled a little bit with Permian's option. I'm sure that Amarillo saw that on the film. Mm-hmm. So the big challenge for Cooper this week is going to be fitting and filling.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to get to see it firsthand. Who's going to take the starting snaps for Cooper? But yeah, struggling against Permian doesn't exactly. Permian's a good team. They do a lot of good things well traditionally, but those scrimmages are a little untelling in some ways. I think Cooper comes out and surprises us a little bit with some new things, because obviously that's scripted and you go live, but I think they're a team that can adjust on the fly, and they're going to come out and be competitive. So offensively, it sounds like they have their weapons. So my question is more on Lubbock Cooper's defense. What did you see on their end?
You know, I really like their defensive back play against Permian. It was hard for them to, you know, bust the roof off the defense, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They look good. You know, Steve Steen from Permian, he's a great player. Amarillo obviously runs their offense a little bit differently than Permian. So I think that Cooper has a good chance in this game. And that probably brings us to our picks.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to pick between each 5 games. We're going to go back and forth. So I guess first one, Odessa Monterey. Who do you got?
I got Monterey. I just don't think that Odessa is going to be there. I think that Monterey has a lot of weapons. I think they're going to be a very surprising team the whole way this season. So I'm just going to, you know, I just want to start off 1-0. And among all these games, I think that that's the safest bet.
I'm going to go with Monterey as well. I agree with everything that you just said. And plus, you know, feeding off of last year, I think it's got a lot of momentum moving forward. Not to say anything bad against Odessa. I think they're going to do better this year, but I think Monterey has the upper hand in this first matchup. So now we come down to the next one, Idalou at Shallowater.
I'm going to go with Idalou.
Idalou? Oh, man. Just because I got to see him firsthand, I really love Idalou's run game, so I'm going to go Idalou too. Shallowater, I think, is going to be better from last year, like I said, from Odessa. But no, I'm going to take Idalou. Okay. I guess this one's kind of sort of a good one.
This one's interesting. And this one's mine, so I'm going to hurt some feelings here. But it's Coronado at Plainview, and I'm going to go Coronado. I think they bring back so much experience.
Yeah.
Plainview does not bring back as much experience. I think that translates into week 1. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think Plainview is going to be very competitive. I think it might be close, just as close as last season, but I think Coronado's going to take that one.
I'm going to have to go with Coronado too. Plainview, they're a well-conditioned team and they're a well-coached team, but I think Coronado just returns too much, just like you mentioned.
No, I think I got you on this one. I think we're going to split here. It's Post at Abernathy. Who you got?
I got to go with Abernathy on this one. I saw them a lot last year, and I got to get out to one of their practices. I just feel like they're going to pick up where they left off last year. Who do you got?
I got Post. I think Post is going to come into this game very angry. I think that while they've lost A.J. Reed, a 2,500-yard running back, I think Mike Ferguson can be that guy for them too.
I think it's feasible. It's going to be a good game.
And the series is 1-1 right now. So between these players that we've mentioned, so.
I like this. I like
the disagreeing right there. And then finally is Amarillo at Cooper.
I'm going to go Cooper. They've surprised me every year or not surprised me, but I've seen them do some very special things in the last couple of years. So I think they produce a pretty rounded off team again this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cooper too. I think that they're very well coached. I think that they're a pretty disciplined team. In fact, even in the Permian game, they didn't take very many penalties. I think Permian got them at a 2-to-1 ratio, and you know, whatever about that scrimmage.
Yeah.
I think that Cooper's going to be a good team, and probably a surprise to Coronado and Monterey in the 4-5A race. I think that they're that good. I think that they're going to be right in the thick of it.
I think so. I think that whole district's going to be competitive. But I think that's it for us today. I don't know if you had anything else to add.
I think that's it. I think it was a good first show. We want to remind you to always check on LoneStarVarsity.com. We've got great content on it right now. We've got a feature. We've got an interesting video coming out tomorrow with Coach Parr talking about his old times in Plainview and going back up there. We've got a podcast, and we'll be back Saturday with another podcast to reflect on what we think on the things we saw after
on Friday night.
But Friday we'll be here again for another live show, and we'll be discussing. And I'm sure one of us is going to have to eat crow. One of us is definitely going to have to eat crow on the post-Abernathy game.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we really appreciate y'all watching, and we'll catch you again on this show, the Lone Star Varsity Pregame Show, on Wednesday of next week.